The Bible Study Podcast, episode 487. Today, the Bible Study Podcast continues the study of the book of Proverbs with chapter 25. Welcome to the Bible Study Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Christensen. We continue on with Proverbs with more Proverbs of Soloman. As this chapter starts, it says that these are compiled by the men of Hezekiah, king of Judah, which is interesting because it means that these are something that the king, Hezekiah, probably found interesting. Proverbs 25. These are more Proverbs of Solomon compiled by the men of Hezekiah, king of Judah. It is the glory of God to consider a matter, to search out a matter is the glory of kings. As the heavens are high and the earth is deep, so the hearts of kings are unsearchable. Remove the dross from the silver, and a silversmith can produce a vessel. Remove wicked officials from the king's presence, and his throne will be established through righteousness. Do not exalt yourself in the king's presence, and do not claim a place among his great men. It is better for him to say to you, "Come up here," than for him to humiliate you before his nobles. So these are all sort of kingly things that Hezekiah probably had on mind. And the first one here sounds like a bit of flattery to kings, as the heavens are high and the earth is deep, so the hearts of kings are unsearchable. I'm not completely convinced of that, but I could see why Hezekiah liked that particular one and why Solomon may have written it as a king himself. But probably some of the things that are more interesting is remove the dross from the silver, and a silversmith can produce a vessel. So dross is that impurity in the metal that would make it brittle. And so you'd heat it up and you'd scrape off the dross, the part that is impure, and says, remove wicked officials from the kings, and his throne will be established through righteousness. So in the same way that wicked officials can provide the thing that makes it brittle, the thing that makes it break, the impurities. And so if you want a good king, you have to have good advisors, something that I'm hoping everybody is thinking about as they're appointing cabinet members and high officials in the U.S. here in the next month. It's good to have good advisors. Do not exalt yourself in the king's presence, and do not claim his place. It's better for him to say, "Come up," than humiliate yourself. Doesn't that sound like Jesus saying when you go to a banquet, take the lowest place and then maybe be invited by the host to come up here to this higher place, rather than taking the seat of honor and being told, "What are you doing here? You don't belong here. You should go sit at the kids' table." And it's the same sort of thing. It's especially in the king, isn't it better to be humble and then have him raise you up rather than to be proud and have him put you in your place? What you have seen with your eyes, do not bring hasty to court, for what will it do you in the end if your neighbor puts you to shame? If you take your neighbor to court, do not betray another's confidence, or the one who hears it may shame you, and the charge against you will stand. And so we get two different sets of proverbs here about courts. And the first one is, just because you saw it doesn't mean you should run to the court. Doesn't mean you should be quick to sue. What will it do you in the end if you put your neighbor to shame? Isn't it better to have a good neighbor than to win the lawsuit? Isn't it better to make things right rather than to win the lawsuit? And do not betray another's confidence, or the charge against you will not stand. What it's saying here is there's winning, and then there's leading a life that is winning, where you are someone who is trustworthy, you're not betraying confidences, and prudent. You're not just running off and trying to get your piece and trying to sue people. And you could see that that's not going to build I hope you can see that's not going to build a lasting, valuable life, to have that kind of attitude towards life and towards your neighbors. Like apples of gold in settings of silver is a ruling rightly given. Like an earring of gold or an ornament of fine gold is the rebuke of a wise judge to a listening ear. These, again, are similar things that we've seen before, which is to rule rightly is approved by God and is of great value. And then also to rebuke wisely. Again, we can learn if we are corrected to a wise ear, to a listening ear. That is also of value. Like a snow-cooled drink at harvest time is a trustworthy messenger to the one who sends him. He refreshes the spirit of his master. Like clouds and wind without rain is one who boasts of gifts never given. Like snow-cooled drink at harvest time. When it's harvest time, you aren't likely to find snow. And if you find it, you're finding it by running way up to the mountains and getting some snow and preserving it to the right time and taking it out of the heat of the day when you've been working so hard. How precious that would be. How wonderful. What a wonderful gift. It says a trustworthy messenger is like that. Be trustworthy. But on the opposite side is one who boasts of gifts never given, one who says, I gave all these gifts, these are my charitable contributions, and then you find out that they didn't really give them, which reminds me at least of one of the candidates we had in a recent election, like clouds and wind without rain, the promise of something good, but not fulfilled. Through patience, a ruler can be persuaded, and a gentle tongue can break a bone. If you find honey, eat just enough. Too much of it, and you will vomit. Seldom set your foot in your neighbor's house. Too much of you, and they will hate you. Again, we get some idea here about temperance, patience. So patience, a ruler can be persuaded. Gentle tongue can break a bone. Be the one who, when you're talking to the service representative or the king, you are calm and persuasive rather than irate and just someone they want to have go away. If you find honey, just eat enough of it, too much you will vomit. It's, again, one of those things about moderation, and that's something that obviously comes as a theme, a little smaller theme here in Proverbs, but something that is a good theme in the Bible. Don't set your foot in your neighbor's house, too much of you, and they will hate you. It sounds to me like the old thing my father used to say is that fish and visitors smell in 3 days. Just don't take advantage of the hospitality that is given to you. Be a good guest. Like a club or a sword or a sharp arrow is the one who gives false testimony against a neighbor. Like a broken tooth or a lame foot is reliance on the unfaithful in a time of trouble. Like the one who gives away a garment on a cold day, or like vinegar poured on a wound, is the one who sings songs to a heavy heart. Now, vinegar on a wound, we have to put that in context. That is a type of medicine. It sounds like that would hurt a lot, but it's something that is helping, like one who gives garment on a cold day. That one's easy to understand. If you sing songs to a heavy heart, if you're bringing someone out of their melancholy, that is a gift. That is a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful gift. Not just saying cheer up, but someone who is doing actions that will cheer someone up. Versus like a sharp sword is the one who gives false testimony against a neighbor. Again, one of these many times in Proverbs we're told not to be false. That does damage. And it does damage, obviously, to that relationship and to the whole neighborhood. It does damage to community. And like a broken tooth or a lame foot is reliance on the unfaithful in time of trouble. How painful, an ongoing pain is a broken tooth, right? Just think about how much agony that is. And to rely on someone who is unfaithful, someone who won't come through for you when you really need it, that's the kind of pain. So let's not be that kind of friend. If your enemy is hungry, give him food to eat. If he is thirsty, give him water to drink. In doing this, you will heap burning coals on his head, and the Lord will reward you. Did you think that those love your enemies things that Jesus said were just in the New Testament? They're not. And here it's saying that you should act in love towards your neighbor. Now it says, you will heap burning coals on his head. It's saying that he will have to think hard about how he has treated you if you're treating him this way. That's how I choose to interpret that. Heap burning coals has always been an interesting thing, and people have debated what it really means. But I think your head is where you think, and I think it's going to make it difficult for him to continue to think that way, or at least I hope so. Like a north wind that brings unexpected rain is a sly tongue which provokes a horrified look. It's interesting because rain is usually a pleasant thing in the Old Testament as we're talking about agrarian society, but this one doesn't sound that way. A north wind, a cold wind that is blowing, and an unexpected rain at the wrong time could ruin the harvest, but here a sly tongue that provokes a horrified look. That's probably not the look we should get when we're talking. If people are horrified by what we're saying, it might be a clue that we need to rethink our approach to conversation. Better to live on the corner of a roof than to share a house with a quarrelsome wife. Seems like we've seen that before. Whether you're a wife, a husband, a coworker, or a friend, you don't want to be the person who would drive people out of the room because you are so quarrelsome. Do we notice when we're that person? How can you tell if you are more quarrelsome than you should be, if you are not living with the grace that makes situations better? I think of my wife in this, and I have to put that in context. I don't think of her as a quarrelsome wife. I think of right now she is working. She works in the healthcare industry with Kaiser, and she is helping opening up some new offices. And it's pretty chaotic. It's the first week, and there are new doctors and new staff and things. And people say to her, "You're a voice of calm. We really like having you here because we can walk into the room where you are, and we know that things will calm down." Just how opposite that is of here. Do we bring calm to the situation? Do we bring wisdom? Or do we just bring strife? Like cold water to a weary soul is good news from a distant land. Like a muddling spring or a polluted well are the righteous who give way to the wicked. I like this balance here of cold water to a weary soul. What a great thing is good news from a distant land. Just how welcome that is versus the polluted puddle. That hope of refreshment that is taken away because it's polluted are the righteous who give way to the wicked, the people who don't stand when they need to stand, who don't stand in opposition to the things that are evil. It is not good to eat too much honey, nor is it honorable to search out matters that are too deep. It's interesting. It sounded like it was going to be diet advice, didn't it there? How not good to eat too much honey. Not honorable to search out matters that are too deep. I wonder if that means, and this is one that I don't know the meaning of. I'll be right up front there, but I wonder if that is like the verses in the New Testament that talk about the people who are arguing about the things that are in the Middle Ages, who would argue about how many angels could dance on the head of the pin. It doesn't matter. And I wonder when they talk about honor, things that are too deep, if they're overlooking the things that are more important. That's what I have to wonder there. Like a city whose walls are broken through is a person who lacks self-control. A city whose walls are broken through has been defeated. This is the last thing that happens before the city is taken, as the walls are broken through. And a person who lacks self-control will also defeat themselves through that lack of self-control and won't be building what they want to build in life. With that, we're going to end this episode of the Bible Study Podcast. If you have any questions, send an email to host@thebiblestudypodcast.com, or better yet, leave a comment on this episode at thebiblestudypodcast.com. And thanks so much for listening.
I'm Billy Yancey, entrepreneur, fitness cowboy, father, retired Navy cornerback, and now podcast host. Listen to my new show, Billy and the Goat, on Life Audio. Happy listening.